Welcome back this week, everyone. The weeks are flying by. Can you believe it? It's almost the end of March. Before we know it, you can take the breath and say, we are through the year. It's going to be a better year. And one of the things I just want to bring to everyone's attention, I know with your emails and all of you that tune in every week and listen to the replay, wherever you listen to it, I'm so grateful. And I know a lot of you have been sharing it. And please know that you are super empowered because you are aware and you are getting the information well ahead of time to make decisions. Do not stop making decisions and do not stop planning your life. Do not do it just based on something that you may have heard or seen. We are moving to a better space. I am so thrilled for today for a few reasons. Now, if you caught my Soul Sunday this past weekend, you know we had Lucas Mack on us and he is with us. And Jennifer Watson is here today as my guest, who have come, no accidents, through Lucas. And I'm going to already plant a seed that Lucas and Jennifer and I are going to be doing something special for you. We're looking in April. So this is why I want you to get to know her, to help you catapult your world. And so it's going to be a powerhouse event. So you're going to want to watch for that. So Jennifer, I am so happy you're here. I know for you, your focus is wellness. We connected right away. I swear we've had many lifetimes together. We are in the same direction. You and I share the same passion for moving forward, very conscious in business leadership. I am so delighted that you took this time to join us today. Oh, my cats are going to fight it while we hear it. So you're going to hear them.
Tracy, this is real life and I love it. And Tracy, it's an honor to be on this show. And you're right, we really connected in a really super powerful way. And I do believe in living your best version of you now. And I believe it's possible. So I'm so excited to be here, honored to be here and just provide some value for your amazing listeners.
Yeah, it's awesome. My cats don't usually have these arguments in the middle of the day. So sorry, guys, you have to hear them. It is real life. We are live. Charlie, the cats, everybody's having a grand time. We're having a farm. Yeah, you know, it's really interesting because I know, as I said, your focus is also on wellness and empowerment. And it's, I would love to know what you see being in the States. I'm obviously in Canada. And a lot of people right now are, as you know, losing their businesses or having to redesign their businesses. And I'm noticing that they're not dreaming as much as we may have done. Like you and I are dreaming, we're building, we're moving forward. We're like, let's keep creating because we know we're going to come out of this, not in the way the elites think, but really in a very heart-centered, conscious way. It's just going to take some time. What are you noticing with businesses and people? Because I really want people today to stop and take a breath and keep dreaming, like keep building, keep going.
That is such a great question. And, you know, I've seen some business owners just catapult this last year, and I've seen others so struggle and really struggle in a couple different areas that are affecting why they're struggling in business, let alone other areas of their life. Tracy, it's affecting their relationships, their money, so many different things. But I have found, at least in the States, with the people I've connected with, and I mean powerhouse people that have been struggling to try to rise above the noise. And I do find they fall into two separate categories. One is this whole last year has shook them on what they even believe is good, true, and right for their business, but actually for themselves. So their identity is a little bit shook right now, and they're still trying to figure that piece out. And it's affecting how they can obviously anchor and lead their team. And thus the domino effect continues. The second piece I find is some people know what they believe in. Like, I believe this, I'm going to do this for my business, but they're not doing it. Whether they're afraid of shaming, whether they're afraid it may not work out, they're actually doing betrayal of self.
Yeah.
So I just find it's one of those two categories that they really know what they want. They're like, no, this is it, Jennifer, but I'm afraid for a variety of different reasons in betraying self, or they're shook and I'm not sure who I am. But they both have to do with identity, which really with the kind of work I do as a leadership and wellness coach, That's where I've always started people. But this past year, I would say that's at the forefront with every leader I work with. And when we really delve into that, whatever category, and there's nuances, I don't want to just say they're cookie cutter, but when I find that they're delving into one of those buckets, maybe both a little bit, then we can get to the source and then build up that identity again and then realign their business, right? You have to get that identity and leadership in yourself first, then move it forward. And that happens in all areas of your life. But that's what I would say I've been seeing this past year. And once we can really super dial in this new transcended identity that's been shook in a lot of us, it's game changing. And I would say the ones that are succeeding and rising above the noise are getting that truth very quickly.
Yeah, I always say these last 2 years for me personally have been like amazing, like just
Mhm.
amazing. I know for you and Lucas, all these people were just it's really good because you said it well. You get that we went through the shaking of who are we, what are
Mhm.
we gonna, and this is why we can help other people
Yeah.
too, because we went through that. And I really noticed that what I love about the last 2 years, what I love is exactly what you said is people are looking within and saying, do I really want to do that job because of that paycheck? So even if the job is going or the business is shifting, and
Right.
who am I? Like, I think that's the biggest conversation
Mhm.
that people are even forgetting to have is who am I? What do I really want my life to look like? How do I really want to show up? So you're not, like you said, betraying yourself,
Right.
because that's when we're asleep, we're betraying ourselves.
Yeah.
We're just
You know,
following masses.
I'm really big into words, Tracy, and the
Mm.
frequency of words. I think when people are struggling with who are they, maybe they kind of get it, but they're afraid, they're just kind of flailing a little bit. I tell people, shift the words a little bit first. You're trying to figure it out. You're like, Jen, I thought these were my gifts. I'm not sure. I thought this was my identity. I'm not sure. I thought this is what I believed. I'm not sure. I'm like, you know what? Say a different word to yourself. You're transcending. Maybe get curious about it. Maybe play with it. We humans need contrast to actually get it. Some people are like, Jen, I actually don't know what my talents are and what I want to do. Great. Play with it. Get curious, try A, try B, see which one expands you, makes you
Yes.
feel alive. Again, because everybody's been shook, I tell people this is a great rock bottom is a great place to start to reinvent yourself. And it does start with just playing
Yeah.
contrast. Try being in a big crowd, not a big crowd. Try basket weaving, try running. Try all these things, right? It's not just about business, it's about
It's
being
every
willing to reframe. And I love what you said. I've been doing personal development for years, Tracy. And so I've been kind of waiting for this moment to happen, where collectively we're all moving through it. But I have to tell you, when people change the words and not feel so scared that this is what I knew, I don't think it's working, and I'm not sure I even believe it, and move into the space. If you change your words a little bit, there's something that changes in your brain too. So I'm very big into, and you're a little afraid, this feels a little new, you're not sure what you believe or who you are. That's okay. Let's play
Yeah.
with it. Let's just play with it. And when you start saying, I'm going to play with it, I'm going to get curious. It's just like in wellness. When I coach people in wellness, like I've felt crappy for years. I'm like, it's okay. We're playing. Let's play with the equation. Let's see what expands you in your wellness, expands you in your wealth, expands you in your business. Maybe it's not what it used to be. Go figure. So when people can play with it, I do find when those words happen, they change where they get out of that fight or flight, into okay, I'm doing a dance. I might fail. I may not. What is the word of failing? I'm just trying to figure out what this is, this thing called life, and do it well and give the best to my world. And it starts with playing in contrast, trying some different things, and then moving it forward, whatever that is. And I know we're talking a lot about leadership and business, but you can do this in any area,
Hey, this is
right?
every I'm like you. I always teach your power of your words, and
Yes.
even and having that understanding. And I'll even say things if you're not sure, like say, okay, tune in. And what's that creative solution? And what's that fun I can have? Or be just in the gratitude of, I'm really grateful that
Yeah.
new change is coming now, and
Yeah.
feel like you said, that expansive energy that just starts to go out into the universe. And when people do that, and I know you get it, I get it, they're like, oh my gosh, so and so called me and asked if I wanted to do this, or, I got this opportunity. And then you start playing in that energy. And
Yes.
that's where when we get up and play, and it's huge. And that's also a great awareness for everyone that's new or you've been here before. to really understand that, because I always say your words are so powerful, whether you're speaking them out
Mhm.
loud or in your head. Like, I know
Mhm.
I was the worst person for, I was probably cursed myself a
Yeah.
thousand times a day. And when I learned to stop doing that,
Yeah.
right? Even if I hadn't had the result I had, and I started to change that vocabulary, like you said, you would start to see these lights go on and things
Yes.
attracting, and it's really really important. So I hope everybody listening, you've really got that with what Jennifer was saying,
Mhm.
because it's so important
Yeah.
right now. What is the narrative? What are you telling yourself? How can you
Mhm.
look at it different? And I always like to play that game, people. I'm like you said, okay,
Yeah.
got this, but what's the opposite of that? What's the
Yeah.
different of that?
Yeah.
And you start to look at that. And I'm really happy you said that. And I think it's something we need to drive home a little bit more and talk
Yeah.
more about.
And I love what you just said because, like I said earlier, just about contrast is you might do something and it doesn't feel good, and then you do something else or you change your words
Yeah.
and it feels different. And I would say, because people are like, I don't know what intuition is. I don't. I'm like, just start with contrast. You may
Yeah.
do something or be around someone you're like, ooh, that person doesn't light me up. You're not sure what that means, but then you're around someone like, oh my gosh, I feel so expansive. Then you start making decisions to go down that road. So I work with a lot of high achievers, ambitious people that want 20 things. Jennifer, help me out, get me to my identity today. I'm like, okay, for one, that's not going to happen. We're constantly evolving, we're constantly mastering life. And by the way, I always say true self mastery is understanding you're never fully mastered, that you're constantly,
Exactly. Oh, I love that.
playing,
I love
right?
that. So true. It is so true. We're constantly evolving. That is brilliant.
Yes, yes. And when we put that again in our head, we step back and go, okay, let's play. I'm not sure what people, places, things, activities light me up. Well, then you're going to probably have to go down. You have to be willing. I will say this, Tracy, as a side tangent. You have to be willing to navigate the depth. And that means you might do a situation that doesn't feel good, but it's bringing something up there for a reason. And that's a whole nother thing we can even talk about. But then you do something different and it expands you. The only way you can figure this out is if you're willing to go to the dark,
Well, and
to the
also too,
light.
sometimes, like I like to remind people, I know you do too, sometimes when we're going to something that doesn't feel good, it's because it's out of our comfort zone. Like there's a
Yes.
part of you that knows. But people, I hear this from people and I'm like, okay, let's stop. They'll be like, well, I didn't go because my intuition said not to. I'm
Right.
like, that's not your intuition. That's your fear that doesn't want you to go because you're going to get a shift or an
Yeah.
expansion. And that can come up and people get that confused. And I'm
Yes.
like, sometimes when you go, when it's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and how many times have we done that? You go, you're not sure, it's uncomfortable, you push, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I
Yes.
went. I had a great time. I met these people. But had you held back,
Right.
then those doors wouldn't have opened. And
Yes.
we got to get uncomfortable, because if we stay in our comfort zone, we don't expand.
I love Tracy. I love where you go. This is so funny, listeners. I'm literally doing a post today on intuition and how
Ah,
people
I love it.
literally have fear based and intuition based completely mixed up for a
Yeah.
variety of reasons. And one of the things I talk about besides feelings, what does it feel like?
Yeah.
Intuition feels more expansive. But like you said, when you're doing something new, you can mix it up that it's not expansive, so you kind of pull away from it, but really it's just your body moving into a new space. So what I kind of dial in to create a little bit more, you need to do this even feels uncomfortable, is the why do you not want to go in this case to a meeting you're not like excited about? And you really, when you kind of take a 7 levels deep why, like why do I really not want to go, you get to the real why. And if the real why is like, I just don't like big groups, is that really intuitive? And this could be an opportunity to grow. Or it's just, you know what, these aren't my groups of people. And that is an intuitive based decision. So I encourage people beyond emotions, because until you really learn to hone into your intuition, they can seem a little similar. Taking a deep breath and just asking why, just getting again curious, not judging the answer like, I'm just afraid they're going to, shame me or not reject me when I go. Even if that's true, that you feel that you're just owning like, okay, I need to go because that's a bad reason. Or it's intuitive that I don't need to go because they're not my people. When you ask a better question, it helps you also hone in the intuition and understand, is it really an emotion for intuition or emotion for fear based? But I love that you said that, because a lot of my leaders, as they're trying to die on their identity, have been very confused with
Mhm.
that decision making. So there's a nuance to that in kind of honing that with the emotion, asking a better question. Often I ask the why question that helps them really get super honest, like, this is the real reason why I do or do not. And then that'll help you to decide, should I do the stretch, grow, and go to the meeting? Or is it really saying these aren't my people and I need to just do something else with my time and my energy? So I love that you said that.
Yeah, no accidents. And I like it too, because even if you go, there's no right and wrong. You and I
Yeah,
know that. There is no judgment. And even if you went
yeah,
and you said, okay, I'm gonna check this out, you go, and maybe it doesn't turn out the way, maybe you're
right.
kind of like, but then there's confirmation. Like you
Yeah,
said, you might go and you say, maybe it is, these are not my kind of people that I want to maybe do business with or social or whatever. You get to
right.
make, but that also anchors into the body, because
Yeah,
with my words and telling people the energy in the body is, it anchors into the body a stronger knowing. So
yes.
when that comes up again, your intuition become stronger to make a decision from intuition versus fear and not expanding.
I totally agree with that. And a lot of times anymore, again, words, I
Yeah,
tell people it's not about screwing up bad decision. Like I said, everything's a good decision. Because here's the deal, everyone.
exactly.
I always say put it in a category, again, words. What we're kind of having a theme here of, success, learning moment,
Mhm.
success, learning moment. And I'm telling you, I
Yeah.
have gone to the next level exponentially, Tracy, when I've had a, oh, I'm not sure if that was a good decision. Wait a minute. All these learning moments that dialed in more my truth. That's not what I want to do, and cleared the clutter and created clarity the rest of the week, the rest of the month. And I was so much more productive. So actually, everyone, I got more out of making quote bad decisions, aka I call them learning experiences. I
Learning.
could say that was a waste of time at that meeting, or wait a minute. I learned, like you said, people maybe that don't resonate and align with me. Perfect. Now I know when another one of those comes up in another week, no. And you just get more efficient. Like you said, that knowing piece. So I love that you said that. And again, verbiage, like, okay, it's not a screw up. It wasn't a waste of time. What did I dial in? What was my learning moment? And then, oh my gosh, like I said, that knowing comes in, but then it just helps me with all these other decisions that are coming the rest of the week. And I just get more productive, more profound, less energy I'm putting into things. And I feel great at the end of the day versus drained by things. So I love that you said that. And that's so, so true.
And it is true with what you're saying there, because this is why you and I connect so much, because we're so on that same wavelength of understanding that you're like me. People say, how do you get so much done? How can you accomplish so much in such a short period of time? Because we've taken this, we don't look at anything as failure. We don't look at everything as a success. You and I look at that like, you made it out of bed today. To me, a success was getting out of bed. It's like some days
Right.
I couldn't get up. So when I started getting out of bed, I was like, wow. So you start looking at all those little things. And that is so true, because we can accomplish a lot of that because we get rid of the clutter. We get
Yeah.
rid of going, where do we want our attention? Where do we want our energy to be?
Yeah.
How do we want that to unfold? And I think that that is, if when people can listen and take that in and say, hmm, it also allows you to be very discerning, and you can scan like a
Mhm.
plate of food or a smorgasbord,
Right.
right? A buffet. And then you
Yes.
can say, I think I need to move this out of my buffet and I need to move this one off. So then you can open up those doors for
Yeah.
bringing in things that will flow. And then
Yeah.
things do become easier.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is fun. Cause I know you and I, we end up playing all day long, and people look at
Yeah.
us like, what do you mean that's play? Like our work isn't work, it's play,
Right.
it's fun. I always say you and
Right.
I are like the kids going to the playground hanging off the monkey bars,
Right.
because we've
Right.
now learned that. We want
Right.
other people to learn that, because then it's
Right. It's so funny, Tracy. I always say to people when I go to parties, I love to mess with people at parties. The questions of, what do you do for a living? For instance, that's what they always ask you, like, "Hi, Jennifer, I don't know you. What do you do?" That's what they ask. I'm like, "Oh, you know, what I mean, what do I do for work?" And they look at me really weird, and they're like, "Well, yeah." I'm like, "Oh, well, I retired from work 20 years ago." And it starts a really
I
cool
like
conversation. It starts a very cool conversation because of what you just said, that I'm on my playground
yeah.
because I have learned what to say yes to, what to say no to, dialing in that intuition versus a fear based, and that I am really productive and I can be at the end of the day feeling that energy of what I've done. Now, it doesn't mean I don't have hard days, you guys. It doesn't mean that I don't have low energy days. What I'm
Absolutely.
saying is,
Yes.
everyone, that when you start just practicing it and you get better, and the idea of this to-do list too, side note, Tracy, at first, all of you listeners, you may have to look at your to-do list and start by hacking it down a little bit, because you might have things on there as we're honing intuition that don't serve you. I tell a lot of my new clients, like, hey, look at your to-do list, my leaders. Half of this I don't think is dialed into what you're aligned with right now. They're like, oh my gosh, it's not. So they're wasting a lot of energy and they're exhausted on the day on things that don't align with them. And they're not even doing well with them because it's not aligned with them. And the domino effect continues, right? So often I will start people there. And as they get more, like you said, yes, no, and they can start doing a lot more in a day. And I do feel this other burden of, well, I feel like I'm going to miss out kind of pulls into play too. Or I feel like, at least in America, that I have to have a lot on my plate at first, even if it's BS, because I think we're supposed to work that much. Because in America, we're supposed to work at least 8 hours a day, 9 to 5, an arbitrary number that we put
That's
out
really
there,
cool.
right?
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, or the people that brag, I worked 80 hours this week." I'm
Right.
like, "You're proud of that? Really?
Yeah.
You're
Right.
really okay." Like,
And
okay.
it's changing the verbiage, and I think leaders I've worked with on that too. Again, we keep going back to words. I love this
Yeah.
conversation, Tracy, because the other thing at parties, oh, how are you? Oh, I'm good. I've been busy. I'm like, okay, so busy in a good way, or busy you're so, like I said, doing the wrong things and not aligned with you. You're exhausted, not even tapped into who you want to become. You're unsure of your identity, and
Yeah.
you think that's good. So it's, again, reframing things. I'm all about being productive. And if you're busy during that day and it feels good and you're productive, great. But if
Exactly.
you're busy and at the day you're like, I'm exhausted, I hate what I'm doing, I wasn't really that productive, even though I did 20 things that were really unproductive. I'm like, what is that saying? So again, what you just said, honing in your intuition is partly just starting to listen and get the knowing piece. And you do have to be really super honest with yourself. And that is a hard piece for a lot of people too. Like, wow, I am being really busy for no reason. I'm exhausted. It kind of doesn't feel good, but if you're willing to sit in it, again, navigate that depth of why. And that's where I do believe coaching and extra to help you understand that why. Some of the things that we do, we know are just old beliefs and behaviors and wounds that we've just carried on into our present state, right? And
Yeah.
by the way, this year has allowed us to bring that to the surface and go really get super honest. Why am I doing that? Again, this is where sometimes, a coach or something like that can really help you navigate that. But at least starting with, why are you being busy? Why are you being productive on things that are not really productive for you? Why are you doing things that are not aligned with who you are now that you're figuring that out? Get curious with it, dance with that. And then once you figure that out, then you can get really productive and do things like we're talking about. It feels so aligned that it feels easy. You are getting more done a day, but you do have to start from scratch. So going back to this to-do list and busy, we have to back it off and go, maybe half this list isn't really serving me anymore. And then build your way up from there. Because as you gain more clarity, then you can do
Well,
more,
you do.
right?
And, you and we've come to, I know for me, I had this whole thing with not being seen and all the trauma. And so I was like the world's busiest person. I could make busy into busy. And
Yeah.
when I asked my why all those 18 years ago, and I said, what is this why? Like, I got to go to every party, got to do everything for everybody. Because one, I had the spirit of obligation. So I felt
Mhm.
obligated. Then I wanted to be busy because in corporate, if you're not busy, then they would
Yeah.
deem you as lazy.
Right.
And then the biggest why so people listening, when you do, so my biggest why that was in the mirror, bawling my eyes out, was I didn't want to face the reality of the changes I needed to make.
Mm.
So, leaving the marriage and getting real with my health and getting real inside. So, being busy and obligated kept me out of having to, all those distractions until the doctors are like, you're going to die again. You're not going to live long. And then I'm bawling on the floor because I realize all of this I have to let go of because I got to go in. And my whole why was I didn't want to face the music of what I had to change. And
Yeah.
that's why so many people I see, and you must see this too, that they keep these busy lists because it can be painful. Yes, it's painful to go in. Yes, you're going to scream and yell and cry. I did an Instagram post on that this morning. Like, everybody thinks when you wake up, like it's all like unicorns and beautiful. And I'm like, no, it sucks. You cry, you scream, you hit the pillow. You're like, oh my God, I got to stop doing that. What? And you're like purging. It's like you're
Right.
vomiting everywhere.
Right.
And but the other side of that is like what you're saying. It's, whoa, you get more time, you get more centered,
Yes.
you get more peace, your health gets better, your
Yeah.
friends are supportive, your work becomes beautiful.
Right. Right. I love this because I had a similar experience where my to-do list of being good at everything, when you guys remember asking this super awesome question, why, being super
Yeah.
honest, Mine was I wanted to be seen.
Mm.
I wanted to be, I found that when I got good at things, people were seeing me more. I'm an identical twin. In my earlier life, my twin was sicker than me and she got a
Mm.
lot of attention. So I started associating when I did well at things and was busy doing well at a bunch of different things, I
Just
was being seen, which
yeah.
means I was, for me as a kid, meant being loved. So I
Yes.
started associating doing a lot of things and being successful to being seen and loved. You guys, that aha moment game changed everything for me. And I had to, oh, it was hard, everyone. I had to let go that busy, being actually busy and successful was being loved. You guys, it was game changing for me. When I got that, talk about knowing it, literally, I get goosebumps. It
Yeah, I
literally
got chills when
changed
you're talking too.
relationships, money, my leadership skills took off. And you guys, do you think that was fun to feel? And by the way, my mom was an amazing mom. By the way, my sister, my twin is amazing. But as a child, this is what I put on it, right?
Yeah, hang on. We're going to skip this break coming up. I know we have a break, but I want to keep this conversation going. So, our producer Olivia, thank you. We're going to skip the break. She's like, "We have a break." I'm like, "No, no break today."
I know.
Um, this is a joy of doing that because
Yeah.
this is actually the conversation that people really need to listen to, because
Yes.
a lot of times what you see on social media, what you see on everybody's posts it's the happier space. And yes, we're there now, but
Mhm.
people really need to understand that while you're morphing through last year and this year and the truths are coming out, you're redefining yourself. This is normal.
Yes.
It's okay. And that's why there's people like you, Jennifer, and me and Lucas and all these people that are saying we've been through this and
Mhm.
it was not fun. And we don't
No.
want others to judge themselves and to realize it is normal when you get to
Yeah.
the why. And it's safe. And we've created safe spaces, which you and I didn't have all those years ago. We
Yeah.
had the odd person around there. It wasn't like it is now. And that
Mhm.
people really need to understand, if you are the person that's saying, I need to change my business, or you deal with a lot of executives. I know a
Right.
lot of middle managers that I've worked with
Mhm.
over the years. They are the busiest people on the planet because they're so worried they're going to lose their job. So they got to look busy, have meetings that don't matter, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like when I was in corporate, they're like, Tracy, you never have all these meetings. I said, why? It's
Right.
a waste of time. You did your job. You did yours. Let's carry on and have
Right.
fun. We're like, what? And they were like, how come you're having so much fun? I'm like, because that's a bunch of noise. And but what you're saying and I'm saying is for everybody listening, and this is so important. When you're going through the change, please be kind to yourself, be gentle to yourself, and know there's these communities of beautiful people like what Jennifer has and I have, and
Mhm.
all these people saying, we have been there. We didn't get to where we are today
Right.
by just going, oh, it's all
Yeah.
wonderful. We didn't.
Right.
We went
Right.
through the pain. We went
And
through the
and you guys, when we say that, I know I'm gonna be honest, I was one of those people, yeah, you've been through the pain, Tracy. You've been through the pain, Jennifer. We see all the epicness that you're doing. Okay, I want you guys to hear this. I was planning my death around tax season because I thought it would be easier on my parents for paperwork. I had a sick brain. Okay. I've been there, I've been there in the depths
yeah.
of feeling this, you guys. And I say that, and I do a lot of speaking on this. I did a TEDx talk on this, and because I really want you guys to get it. We all have to be willing to go to the darkness. I'm not saying you have to be where I was at, but you have to be willing to purposely go there to get to the other side. And when you do, guess what? You do have this power, this alignment epicness that Tracy and I are talking about. Let me be very clear. That doesn't mean I don't wake up on the wrong side of the bed, but I have these tools now to get what's going on. If I'm being triggered from old beliefs, if there's, and I dial it in more quickly because I get that I need to not waste time on that. And I now I'm super aligned to make myself more powerful for the world and for you. But trust me, we both, Trace, we've been there. And I mean that, everyone. And I say that very honestly. But
Yeah.
when you are willing to navigate, I keep saying this phrase, the depth, and be willing to feel that yuck. And we've had this great opportunity to do this last year. I've been doing it for quite some time, like Tracy said. But the reason why we're doing what we're doing, we're feeling epic, and you're like, they're so epic. Maybe that's what you're saying. Maybe not, is because we've gone there. We've gone into the darkness. And
Yeah.
look, there's so much light that I feel is exuding from me now, Tracy. And you know what? I feel prettier. I'm
Yeah.
older and I feel prettier. You know why, you guys? Because the light's emanating from me.
Yeah.
I am actually in my truth now after unveiling all that stuff, which, by the way, was a beautiful part of me too. It was a
Yeah.
learning moment, all these dark parts of me, and I still have them with me. because
Yeah.
they gave me a lot. It's just knowing that my light's coming from that. So I really encourage you all of that, be willing to navigate that and be okay with that. Because at the end of the day, there's so much beauty on the other side. So
Well, there
much.
is, and like me, I just celebrated my 50th birthday, and
Yes.
I'm healthier. I glow more. People are like I get people that will stop my daughter and I and say, or they'll hear her say "mom," and they're like, "Excuse me," like
Yeah.
stop for a minute because she's 26, and they're like, "Excuse me," they're like, "I
Yeah.
thought that was your friend," and and they're looking like this, but this is exactly it. I pulled up pictures, my daughter found pictures of when they were
Mhm.
5 and 8 and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I look like I'm 70 years old, like just heavy and no
Yeah.
life. And that's what this is. And as we go through releasing that and recognizing it and honoring it and loving it and coming out, I say it's the best
Yeah.
natural de-ager ever because
Yeah.
we look young, we have fun, we
Yeah.
have more energy, we're more vibrant. And that is another plus
Right.
going through the depths of the darkness if people are feeling that. And another
Mm.
plus to keep going and
Oh my
enjoy
gosh.
the light.
You know, I have so many points on this, you guys. This is not superficial stuff, but I want to go on a
No,
tangent here because Tracy
truth.
just said something really important. I always say, if people were listening to this episode right now, I'm telling you, we're putting like facial companies, cosmetics out of business, and this is
Yes.
why. I've literally seen people that literally I look at pictures of them and then they were like 10, 15 years younger, where they're, by the way, you guys listen up, their eyes were asymmetrical. There was a lot of darkness. They were
That
pulling
was
within.
me.
Their smile was asymmetrical and they were younger.
Mhm.
As they start navigating some of this and releasing it, you guys, our five senses live in our face.
Yeah.
When we start exuding that, their eyes start becoming more symmetrical, their smile. And just FYI, like the Halle Berry's, her face is very symmetrical. Okay.
Yes.
That's why she has that beauty we're drawn to, right? Because it's not being superficial. Just understand that when you get let go of this, there's a bonus, these darknesses, she's creating light and symmetry in your face. And people are like, they're drawn to you because they see that beautiful light. And understand that this is the best anti-aging.
Oh, it is. I joke because people say, Tracy, what creams do you use? I'm like, I usually forget to wash my face at the end of
Yeah.
the day. They're
Yeah.
like, what? And then they're like, you don't use creams? I'm like, no, I use a moisturizer once in a while, but
Right. Right.
fancy. Like I don't
Yeah.
have product after product.
Right.
And I did when I was younger. And
Hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? But it's true that light comes in. The
Yeah.
cells they start to regenerate and to rejuvenate. And I always say there's an aging line and a journey line. Our journey line,
Mm,
we don't age. The aging line is what you're talking about,
yes.
the heaviness, the weight, the bags. And that's why, and what I've seen in my work that's why people get sick later in life
Mhm.
because they've had all this heaviness. It's
Yeah.
weighing on them, the stress, the belief systems. They start to get that, and their bodies are hunched
Mm,
over. And that darkness, eventually it can't stay in the body anymore.
right.
It needs
Right.
light. It needs a light. So then they get sick and says,
Yeah.
hello, could you pay attention to me now?
Yes.
Please
And the
pay
thing
attention.
is, this research, Tracy, has been around for years. So, as many of you may or may not know, I'm a practitioner by trade. So, there's a lot of things we address from a physical, emotional, spiritual sense for all my clients that used to come to me just from a practitioner sense. And yes, you guys, diet is important. It reflects into the skin and all these other nuances and exercise, yada, yada, yada. But the emotional trauma that we store in our body, there's research, and it's actually been around for a while, but just recent research, a lot of this is kind of hidden. That's another whole
Always.
radio talk show thing that we can talk about, but it
Yeah.
is out there that they are finding it's not a secondary silent killer. They are finding chronic trauma stress that stays in a body, that elevates stress at a high chronic level, is directly related to our top 5 diseases and things we die from, at least in the United States: heart disease, cancer, autoimmune, diabetes, depression/suicide. I'm
Yep.
not kidding you, you guys. So
Agreed.
think about this. What we're talking about, there's so many bonuses to going back to your leadership, your identity, expanding, looking more beautiful because you're radiating in alignment, but it's actually helping you in longevity and quality of life. So everything we're saying, you guys, I'm all about leveraging. Okay. It's going to help you in leadership, in beauty, physical beauty, in feeling good about yourself, in helping you create function, high function for a majority of your life when
Yes.
you let go and
Yeah.
process this, these darknesses. And Tracy, I love that part, but I always tell people whatever they're having a struggle with letting go with, I don't care if it's something physical in their business or an employee or something just deep inside they need
Mhm.
to let go of. I always ask them, what does it look like if you extract that? let's say you lost it. Let's say you lost your job, you lost your wife, you lost your health, you lost everything. I go back to Job. I come from a Christian background,
Yeah.
and Job lost everything.
Yeah.
Okay. He lost his health, he lost his wealth, he lost his family. He had, quote, nothing. Okay. Just his thoughts. And he realized by the end of that book, Tracy, after a lot of bad advice from a lot of bad friends, okay, that he was enough, that all of his gifts, going back to what we were just talking about at the beginning of this conversation, your identity, who you are, was still with him.
Yeah.
And he could still start from scratch, all the lessons learned, and move himself into a beautiful space of impact. So if you can step back of whatever you guys maybe are struggling with letting go with, maybe a darkness, maybe something in your business, and go, what if I didn't have that anymore? What if?
Yeah.
What would be left of me? And that has been really liberating for a lot of my leaders I've worked with. Like, wow, if I lost my business, my money, my health, I would still have that. And I could move from the ground up. Or what if I let go of this old belief? I'm not going to die. I can still. So I really encourage people to do the worst case scenario sometimes. Like, really think about that. And all the superficial stuff and all the things we put in our head that are not true. I mean, if you let that go, for one, you're not going to die, but two, you still have the goods,
Yeah.
right? You
I
still have.
always say that when you have this knowing and peace within, you can look at the chaos and it's kind of like the tornado out here, but it doesn't really affect you.
Yeah.
And I know you went through that. I lost so my business at 26 and I lost it all during the divorce and then had the career and then you lose that. But it got me to where I am today. So for me,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, this got me to where I am. But then also, if you just take a scan, if people just look at their life and go back from today to where you are and all those things that you probably thought would happen or that did happen, you came out of it. You're here. You're still here today to show up, to create, to be in that beautiful space and light. And that's a reminder. That's a reminder. Because someone asked me recently, like, what would you go back and tell your
Right.
your younger self? And I said,
Yeah.
if I had to go back to that,
Yeah.
I'd be like, don't worry. Like
Hmm.
it will find its way. It's going to all work out, even though you're in that situation and
Right.
that panic and the stress. And I really love that you're sharing too about the science. I know when I started 18 years ago, I ended up on a film that was, my animals would like to play again. I thought I lost my mic. On a film where Dr.
Okay.
Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, they were all on this space. And so I got fascinated with the science, but like what you said, there's more and more of it coming out. But like all the truth, guys, coming out in the world right now, it is under the rug. And it's under the rug. So you need to know where to go find it for sure. But more of that's going to come out,
Yeah.
more and more. And this is what's so beautiful about it. You can find it. It is coming out. And what a beautiful, that right there shows how much power your body has.
Yeah.
Like we say, your body can power a whole city with what it's got inside of it. But if people can anchor into that, and I know for me, restoring, like doctors were like, that's not possible. That's not possible. Like, how you can't get rid of that. And I'm like, see you later. It was possible, but it was by taking exactly what you're talking about, getting out of that way, going deep within. So if anybody's listening going, well, I don't know about the science, or I'm not sure. It is possible. Jennifer and I are here to tell you, we see it, we've done it, we've experienced it. And if you can even just open your perception just a little bit to know how incredible this vessel is that you've come to this earth with.
Yes. And I'm such a neuroscience freak. I love this stuff, but your body, your mind has an innate ability to change, adapt, grow, heal itself, everyone. Okay. We've been taught that we need assistance.
Yeah.
Okay. Whole nother topic. Okay. We've
Yeah,
been taught that.
we could do this for like 5 hours. That's why you guys are going to come back to our little summit. We're going to have lots of
we're going to be given so much truth. You guys are going to be expensive. You're going to feel like you're going to have the sword, the shield. You're going to like, get out of my way. I'm like Superwoman, Wonder Man.
You're ready to go.
Like, you guys, your brain has 100,000 miles worth of blood vessels in it, a billion neuronal connections. It wants to heal, wants to get what you want. Okay. It wants to continue to do your purpose, whatever that is. And when you take the power out of like the powers that be, so to speak, and you pull it in and do the inner work, that's where the healing starts beginning. And then you start bringing, guess what she just said, what Tracy said, I love it. Even opening the door a little bit, like I'm kind of buying what I'm picking up, what they're putting down, maybe a little bit, open the door a little bit. All of a sudden the universe starts bringing people, places, things to you with truth. And then open the door more. Okay. Just like we said about change your words. All of a sudden you start expanding just a little bit, you guys. You can take a little tippy toe into the water. I get it. I've been there. I'm like, I don't know if I believe all this stuff. She's saying there's science behind it.
That was
But
me.
just start that and you'll start seeing this momentum, like you said. And then all of a sudden you start feeling good and you feel more like you, like, I didn't know I could feel this way. And then the momentum consistency begins, you guys. So be willing to do that. You're on rock bottom for a reason. This year brought rock bottom for a lot of people. Side note, again, I'm all about physics. Rock bottom is a great place to start. Think of like a tennis ball. When you drop it on a cement, cement
Yep.
surface, it might jump
Yep.
up. If you slam it down hard, how big does it jump up? A
Yeah.
lot harder. So for those of you that feel that you've hit rock bottom hard this year, good,
Yeah.
because you have this is physics, you guys. This is quantum
Yeah.
physics. You have a huge ability to catapult now to a bigger level than ever before. It's not
Yeah.
just this physical, it's the emotional connection that we're making to where your rock bottom is at. So be willing to let go, do that inner work, know your body, your soul, your spirit wants to give you what you have inside to do, whatever that is. It's like, I'm here. Let's work together, but you got to trust yourself on that. Know that you have the power, not anybody else,
Yeah.
you inside. And we all get that collectively. Oh my gosh, Tracy, where I see us going as human beings can be truly profound. I truly believe that if you guys just get this, hold on, it's hard. But when you go to the other side, it is beauty that you're going to see. And we're here to help you. That's why we're here, because we get it and we want to help you with that.
Yeah, and there's also right now, like you said, we're at rock bottom in terms of Earth and what is
Yeah.
happening, because this 2,000 years of living this way hasn't served all of humanity. So people can also understand the whole globe is hitting a rock bottom. Lots of us have woken up to help people rise up, but it's a rebirth, right? We're going through a rebirth globally. And so if
Mhm.
we can understand that, then like you said, we're springboarding into something new, into something better. And even as people are waking up more around the world, what I love about this whole concept too is when you open the door, and it always works like this. I know, Jennifer, you and I just we've been through this. You all of a sudden notice that somebody else shows up with that same sort of way, right? So no matter what you're looking at in the world right now, you can start to find this beautiful group of people that are like, wow, I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say that. Oh, and then you can open up that conversation, which then is empowering for
Mhm.
both of you. And then you get this empowerment, and then your voice becomes stronger. And then your creation and your manifestation is just effortless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Effort.
It's so funny you said that because again, I love Tracy, you guys. She's everything she says. I'm like, I literally just had a moment like that. I was with a friend this past weekend, and I'm traveling right now, and I was with her having lunch. And there's a moment I'm going to keep that kind of private because it was a really intimate
Yeah.
moment. But I said something, and I did something in public that took a lot of courage. It was very subtle, but she just said, she's like, Jennifer, I felt like I needed to do that too. And I had a similar situation. This just gave me courage to step more in my identity, my truth. I'm like, if I can get one person, any of you listeners, one person to
Yeah.
just take one step in courage of something you need to do for you. I don't care if it's wellness, leading your team, taking
Anything.
a stand in what you believe. Trust me. The
Yeah.
people are out there. There's almost 8 billion people in the world. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to agree with you. But the people that you need to support and fan you are out there. And the more you're willing to take a deep breath, again, tap your toe in the water. I'm going to step in courage, just one tiny thing. I'm going to let go of this old belief, old thought process, old whatever that you're struggling with, and tap just a little bit. You guys, I'm telling you, you'll get it that day. I swear, I've seen more people like, oh my gosh, and I did what you said, and something happened. Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's small, but you guys, this stuff works. It's physics. It is physics, what we're talking about here. And know when you do that, the domino, the bigger things start happening. And if I can be a vessel to get people to do that, it is the most humbling, honorable thing I could ever do, and that serves me too. When I can give that truth to someone, that courage, that they give it back to me. You guys, that's what this is about. We're helping support each other live the best version, our true version of ourselves, because that's true enlightenment. That's true self-mastery, right?
It really is. And, I want to share this story a client shared with me, and I'll leave parts of it out of privacy for them. And I know it's okay. I share it, but like you talk about courage and strength. So her husband's a big guy, and he up here we're very in our quite locked. We're the most locked down place in all of North America. People don't realize that, and so there's a
Wow.
lot of things happening, and so there's this big thing around masks. Anyways, he doesn't wear one, so he went into a grocery store, and this woman had come up to him and said, a lot younger girl, and said, do you have an exemption? Or he's like, no, I just would like to breathe. So this was his base.
Mhm.
And he thought, she said at first, he said he thought he was going to get pushback. And she's like, is it okay? Can I shop with you? I don't want to wear one either. So again, right. So she took hers off and she explained him. And so he was like her personal bodyguard through the grocery store.
Mm.
And she felt so free because for her, that was just not in alignment. And for many of us, we have our own points of view on that. And it isn't in alignment for any of us because we know the truth. We see the truth. We read real science. And part of this is dismantling. But here again, he empowered her for something she was so afraid to do. That's what I'm talking about. This is why I'm using this example. So she was afraid, but she went over to him and said, I need support. I want to do this, but I don't feel brave. And this happens in all our lives that sometimes, like you said, there's things we want to do. Others don't feel brave enough. But when we come together, we can be brave together. And we can shine together. And I'd mentioned this on Soul Sunday with Lucas, and I want to bring this up. Sometimes people, when their voice, it's hard. And I always said, like, guys, if you want to go on the Instagram and tag Jen or me or Lucas, we'll support you. Like we'll be helping you because we know that what you guys are, all of our listeners are like, we want people to be in love and to be brave, to be in that love and that kindness, and to not always have to agree with the mainstream narrative.
And I love that because we do need each other. We need that connection to feel that support. And I agree, you guys, anytime you want to DM connect with me, I want to serve you and help you step in that form of courage. One thing I would say to all the listeners too, when you want to take that step in courage and you feel intuitively, like, this is my truth. And I think that's a great example about the mask. Like, I don't feel right about this. And I want to step in that truth. I do encourage all of you to step into that intention, but disconnect it from expectation.
Yes.
Okay. Because when you go into a store, you could get someone to respond in a less than servable way. Okay. But I go back to letting go. Are you going to die from that? You take that communication, you still stood in your truth, you turn around and walk out, or you decide to put the mask on me. That's a whole nother conversation. But what I will say is that when you kind of detach the expectation, I'm not going to die from stepping my truth in a loving, beautiful way, no matter what happens. That also gives you a little bit of edge to do it, along with, connecting with other people that align with you, that support you in your decision. That's just something that has helped me. It's helped a lot of my clients that, if we live this life that no matter, and this is not just this example, I mean, anything, whether you're leading a team, like half my team might like this, half might not. Maybe you say something to a friend, they might like it. If you continue to live your life worried about the outcome or how someone's going to respond, that's exhausting, but it also leads to wrapping around to self-betrayal.
Yeah, it does.
Okay? Which makes you a walking corpse, which makes you not where you want to go, this huge transcendence. So I agree. We need each other. We want to be here to support you guys, but also start taking a deep breath. This is the align. This is what I believe in truly I need to do, Jennifer, in separating that expectation, because that can get you into trouble. And then you start losing who you are. And I've seen that with a lot of leaders. And we want to see you again this past year and into the next century, transcend to who you want to become. And you guys, you can do that in this beautiful, loving, standing in your truth way. And it's needed right now. And there's more of us out here. We're right here, you guys. There's two of us, and we're going to help you power through it. And I really mean that with all your listeners. We want to help you.
We do. And it's also, like you said earlier at the top of the hour, was with all of the stuff going on, that play in the energy of the fun, circling back to really what's the worst thing. And you don't need to take in any of that energy or that thought. It's like, okay, so what's the worst thing you might put on, or you might leave or whatever. But you can do that in every part of your life. What's the worst thing, really? Okay, maybe that relationship ends. So, when people say to me, I'm afraid to get into a relationship, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, really, what's the worst thing? You break up. Like, what's
Right.
the worst thing? You're going to break up. So if you reference, remember in high school, you're like, oh my God, we broke up. It was the end of the world. And then you're like, okay, well, there's another one,
Right, right, right,
and you forgot about the breakup. And then you're
right.
like, oh, I don't want to love someone because what if I get hurt? And it's like, oh my God, get rid of the drama. So what's the worst thing?
Right,
It may not work out, but you'll have some nice experiences along the way.
right,
But you
right.
apply that to every part of your life.
You do. And it goes back to that thing we were talking about is stepping your truth. Like, play out the worst case scenario. Are you going to die? Like, listen to me. People, places, things are being dropped from you and also being brought to you when you take a step in courage. That's all I'm going to say. There's some people that you're going to have to let go of or limit time
Yeah.
boundaries with. I've had a lot of people with, some issues with families, it's not necessarily going to drop them like a hot potato, but limit time. But honestly, you got to continue to pull in your truth, and you're going to have to let go of things as you bring things out. And that will happen as you step in courage. But because it feels so good, once you do it, again, you get that little piece. You're like, ooh, this feels so like me. Then you start taking more acts of courage. And then before you know it, you're doing what Tracy and I do, which, by the way, we're not perfect. There are
No.
times where I question and I pull back a little bit. We're still mastering. Like I said, we're never fully self-mastered. But no, the more you guys do this, just like working out, the more you go to the gym, your body starts getting it. I always try to use physical examples because it's easier for people, but it's the same with
Exactly.
the brain, the
Yeah.
same with the soul energy. It's all energy, you guys. Anger, joy is energy. Just like if I push Tracy, that's energy. Just like her running is energy. It's all energy, you guys. It's all energy. And we have the ability to curtail it to our desires, our hopes, our needs, because that's the way God meant it to be. We're here at this particular time. I'm here during COVID because someone else back in the 18th century wouldn't have been ready for this moment. I'm here at the exact right time, the exact right space. So as much as you may say, this sucks, it's a beautiful time to be alive. And you
Yeah.
were chosen for a reason
I
to
always
be
say we were
here.
meant to be here to help with the change, to go from the old industrial way of being into
Yes.
this new revolution of for the people and,
Yeah.
supporting and love all over. I know we're already at the top of the hour. I can't believe this. So
Yeah.
I two quick things. One, where can people find you? And two, what message do you have to leave with everybody listening today and wherever else they're going to catch the replay?
100%. Tracy, thank you so much for having me. First and foremost, this has been such a fun conversation. But if any of you have questions on anything we've talked about, you can definitely DM me. I answer all my own DMs, but the best place to go is at my Instagram or my LinkedIn, and it's Jennifer Watson Leadership. We want to be here to continue to support you. So please reach out if you have any questions on what we've talked about. The message I want to leave with people, Tracy, is this: be who you are, live who you really are. See
Yeah.
who you really are, hear who you really are. That's it. And if you don't get that, play with it. And if you still don't get that, connect with one of us, because you, it is your, I will say, your obligation, your responsibility to do that. And once you actually fully live you, like, this is me, everything is icing on the cake. And bad isn't bad because you are so dialed into your superstardom. Be who you are, see who you are, hear who you are. Everything is icing on the cake.
I love it. And I love that you said that. And I'm so grateful you were able to spend this hour. I know it goes so fast, but for everybody listening, so again, I'm going to repeat it that Jennifer and Lucas and I are going to be putting together an evening event for all of you to be able to join, and we can learn more and, have more of this fun conversation and our own little version of a summit. So we have been in creation. So everybody will watch for that. We will all have it out and post it. And it's such a pleasure. Like we say, no accidents how you and I connected, and people, this is
Mhm.
how it's working, like we've shared, Jennifer and I, when we first spoke, we shared all these visions. We were so on the
Mhm.
same, here we're going, this is what we're
Mhm.
doing. And yeah, we both got off going, thank you God. Like, we could probably talk for, hours and hours and hours, because we are on that same synergy. And this is also, again, for people, when you're listening right now, all of you are so amazing, and we are going to a new place.
Yeah.
We are entering into a new world, and no different that when you woke up, or like Jennifer and I were talking, we're humans. We have our bad days. Sometimes a lot of people think we don't, but no, we do. We just get out of it quicker because we have our
Mhm.
toolbox.
Mhm.
But if you guys can remember also that to go to the new, whether it's in your life or globally, we have to dismantle the old. So that
Mm.
is why I love what you said, Jennifer, about, remembering who you are, seeing it, feeling it, and everything is energy. And when they can connect that, and I'm hoping, and I'll just plant this seed before I know we have to go, is if I can plant the seed that we can talk a little bit more next time around the science, because I think it's important for, I know I
Mhm.
had to go there for me to
Yep.
first get it. Now I'm fine, but I'm just going to plant that
Yep.
seed. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us. Thank you for all of our listeners. I hope you will enjoy the replay. And I know many of you listen to it in all these other 90 locations, but you'll enjoy it. And thank you again, Jennifer. Make sure you guys check us out next week. We have our friendship hour. So we're bringing in some people from the community. I'm not sure if it's a call-in show, but we'll decide. So again, thank you. Lots of love, everyone. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Thank you for listening to the Tracy L Clark Show with me, Tracy L, where I teach you how to connect to the God consciousness so you can unlock your superpowers and connect at light speed and live your extraordinary life. Tune in every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio, where together we will unlock the secrets of your body and your life. As the founder of the Body Regeneration Academy, I, Tracy L, will provide you with the insight and simple tools you can apply right now in your life to move you forward and leave the past in the dust. To join the Body Regeneration TLC Online Academy, make sure you check me out at tracylclark.com.